Let's go, boys. Gonna put on some background music while we get into things here, and then we'll be good to go. I'm gonna quickly announce that I'm live on Discord and Twitter. I'll just say Mario Kart Tier List and gameplay. That's how we'll announce this stream. I'm excited though. I'm very excited for tonight's stream because we're gonna be doing a tier list of the Mario Kart 7 tracks, and then I'm actually going to be playing some more Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tonight because we have some more DLC content to dive into. Very, very excited for that, actually. Yeah, it's going to be a good night. Very excited. It's going to be a very, very good night. I feel like I'm forgetting something, though. Well, if I'm forgetting it, it's surely not important. But let me quickly announce some of the rules for this tier list, because there are rules. Last time I did a tier list, I tried to fit all of the same, I don't know, number of courses or items into each tier. So for example, the last time I did a tier list, I had all the same number of Pokemon, because it was a Pokemon tier list, in the S tier, the A tier, the B tier, the C tier, D tier. I'm not going to do that again. That was kind of silly, and it kind of forced me to put items into certain tiers that I wouldn't. Because I was trying, for example, to put all the same Pokemon in the same number of tiers, and try to make all the tiers balanced so they all have the same number of Pokemon, I put some Pokemon in A tier that I would have put in S tier, but I didn't want S tier to be too oversaturated. For tonight's stream, all of the tiers are open season, if you will. There could be a ton of courses in S tier if I really, really love the course. There could be a ton of courses in F tier if I really, really hate the courses at hand. But also, there's only, 16 courses, so hopefully none of these tiers are going to become too overcrowded, oversaturated. I just figured I would lay that out as kind of a new rule for our tier list streams moving forward. In the past, I've tried to make all of the tiers kind of the same number of items, and I've tried to make all the tiers hold the same weight. No longer will I be doing that in tonight's stream or any future tier list streams. The other thing I want to say is that I'm not going to be reviewing any of the Mario Kart 7 retro courses. So for example, Mario Kart 7, one of the retro courses is SNES Mario Circuit 2. We're not reviewing that because that has been a course that's been remade countless times. Mario Circuit 2 was in the SNES version of Mario Kart. It was in the Game Boy version of Mario Kart. It was in the 3DS version. So if I were to put that on tonight's tier list, I'd also be reviewing it in my Game Boy Advance tier list, my SNES tier list. It would become redundant. And I do plan on making a Mario Kart Super Circuit tier list. So when I review the Game Boy Advance version of this franchise, it would just be redundant to talk about, that course again. Or, better yet, a better example, when I review the first version of this game, the first release of this game, I will be talking about Mario Circuit 2. So that would be the ultimate redundancy, because, that was the original Mario Circuit 2, and the rest of these are just kind of remakes, the re-releases. And I know the remakes are different. I know the re-release of Mario Circuit 2 on 3DS is slightly different than the original Mario Circuit 2 on SNES. But I don't really care that much, and I don't think it's different enough to warrant me talking about it on this tier list. Because like I said, it would just be redundant to see Mario Circuit 2 pop up time and time again on multiple tier lists. Especially because if we, in the future, potentially mesh all these tier lists together and we combine them all together, you'll just see a bunch of Mario Circuit 2s all in, the C tier. That'd be silly. It'd be silly to see the same track, the same Mario Kart course on the C tier 3 times. It's just silly to see the same item on a tier list several times over. It's redundant and unnecessary. Anyways, with that, I think we are good to start the tier list, start the stream, stop the music, and we'll actually get into our first course in the entire game, which is Toad's Circuit on the 3DS. You know, it's tough. This course kind of has a tough go of things. It's in kind of an unfair spot as it's the first course in the game. And basically the first course in any Mario game is going to be pretty boring, way too easy, and just lackluster all around because it's supposed to be kind of an introductory course for new players to kind of get a feel for the game. It's almost like a tutorial when the game doesn't have a tutorial. It serves the purpose for the non-existent tutorial in a Mario Kart game. I don't really like Toad Circuit though. I think it's one of the worst first courses in any Mario Kart game. I think it's very boring at parts, and even the fun features it does have are more copycat features. For example, even in this picture, you can see it. There is a shortcut at the end with this little section of sand and warp pipes. That's just a copycat of the first course in Mario Kart Wii. They did that, track shortcut feature, whatever you want to call it, in Mario Kart Wii, and then they did it again in Mario Kart 3DS. So I don't know why they're just blatantly ripping off Luigi Circuit, but they are. However, hi Zach, welcome to the stream. There is one thing that could save this course, and it's the music. So with this tier list, we are also going to be listening to the music from every course. Shall we? However, I don't think the music is going to save Toad Circuit. I almost called it Turd Circuit, but it's fitting because it's not good. This music it's just like the course. It's boring. So I'm going to throw it down in F tier. That feels really mean, but valid, honest. Enough of you, Toad Circuit. We move on to the next course. Which is Daisy Hills, and I really like Daisy Hills. I love the Swiss Alps vibe of it. It's very cutesy, very just rustic and sweet, and it's adorable without being too nice for its own good. Because with the Mario Kart course, you don't want it to be so adorable you can't murder someone with a blue shell on it, you know? It can't be so sweet you're not willing to mutilate your friend with a set of 3 green shells. It still has to have some edge to it. And you can even notice that it has a little bit of edge to it. It's got the spiky rocks. It has hot air balloons where if you accidentally bump into the hot air balloons, you spin out and crash your car. So there are some obstacles that keep this course feeling like any other Mario Kart course should. A death trap. Every Mario Kart course should have a little bit of edge to it, but I love that this course fills a niche of I don't know, just being adorable. It sounds so weird to say that, but it's a niche that is so small in Mario Kart. And the music fits that niche perfectly. I love it. I also love, one thing I forgot to mention is there are goats or sheep, I forget which, on this course that are obstacles, which, is kind of just a ripoff of Moo Moo Meadows. It's a little bit of a ripoff from Moo Moo Meadows, but I like it. It's not a perfect course. It's still a early game stage, and because it's an early game stage, it's very easy, a little boring, but I like the music, I like how sweet it is, and I'm gonna go a safe B tier. Part of me wants to bump it up more, but it is kind of boring. There are some very boring moments in this course. There are also some really good shortcuts. I'm bumping it up to A because of the shortcuts. we move on. I don't want to keep changing my mind. We're moving on to Cheap Cheap Lagoon. Oof. Cheap Cheap Lagoon. What can I say about Cheap Cheap Lagoon? I think it's one of the worst underwater courses in the entire game. I think it's one of the worst underwater courses in Mario Kart. It's just very boring. And the only like real shortcut is not that cool. So there's not a lot to it. I think the only thing that saves Cheap Cheap Lagoon from being an F tier in my eyes is the music. So let's listen to it because I don't really remember the music. I'll be honest. This is one of the few courses where the music is not ingrained in my memory, which might be a bad thing. The fact that I don't remember the music might already be a negative sign for how the music sounds. But let's listen to it. I mean, Mario Kart is amazing at creating just a beach bop. They know how to make a song sound beachy fun. I don't think this is like the best song for this course, because this song, like if you were to hear this without any knowledge of what it's coming from, who it was made for, or even the fact that it was a video game song, like if you just heard this on the radio one day, you would know it's a beach tune. It just, it has that aesthetic. And Mario Kart sound designers are so good at just hitting that nail on the head. But the reason I don't think that's necessarily a great thing is because this isn't really a beach course like most water themed Mario Kart tracks. This is like an ocean themed Mario Kart track. You spend almost the entire race under the water, nowhere near a sandy beach. So I still don't like this track. I still think it's kind of a boring track, but I love the song. The song alone is enough to bump up to E tier, even though the song is like a little off the vibe of like what it's supposed to be. The song is beach themed, sure, but it's not really ocean themed. It doesn't have those like deep underwater ocean melodies. It's more of like a play volleyball in your bikini anime beach episode vibe. You know what I mean? But I love it nonetheless. So E tier. The music saves it from being F tier, even though I just went on a rant about how the music isn't applicable to the setting of the track. I don't care. We might have our first S tier coming up. Let's go, baby. It's Shy Guy Bazaar. I love it's the steel drums. I know. You're not wrong, bro. It's the anime beach episode for me. Um, Shy Guy Bazaar is beautiful. I love this track, and I am still so confused how this is one of the only like Middle Eastern themed Mario Kart courses. One of the only Mario Kart courses with a Middle East setting, because this track was done so beautifully and they used the setting so phenomenally. I think one of the coolest moments in this game, at least, I won't say one of the coolest Mario Kart moments of all time because that might be over exaggerating, but one of the coolest moments in Mario Kart 7 is driving through this Arabian marketplace. And you do it so well. At least the game does it so well because you can drive on top of these little stands, you can drive around them, underneath them. If you get your cart to land on top of one of the stands, you like bounce on the carpets as if it's like a trampoline. I think it's really neat, and I really like it. And the music, in fact, we haven't listened to music yet. Again, it just matches up perfectly, parallel with the aesthetic of the course. Like, I love it. I love Shy Guy Bazaar. So this is an S tier for me. I really, really like it. Anyways, let's move on to Woohoo Loop, which another course I love, another course I love, and it's entirely because I grew up on Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort, and this is an entire course themed to Wii Sports Resort, and the music emulates that beautifully. I mean, the OST to Woohoo Loop and Maku Woohoo, I should clarify that, like both Woohoo Loop and Maku Woohoo have the same OST. So when we talk about Maku Woohoo later, um, we'll basically just be referencing this song again. But this OST is basically just a Mario Kart rendition of the Wii Sports Resort theme, which some would consider lazy, but as someone who loves Wii Sports Resort, I think it's awesome. I think it's dope, especially because it has that Mario Kart kind of vibe to it. So I love it. I love it, and I really do like Woohoo Loop. The only thing stopping me from putting Woohoo Loop in an S tier slot is the fact that I think there is a better option. There is a better version. And let's skip ahead, actually. I was going in order, like in chronological order of the courses, but I am going to skip ahead real quick just to jump to Maku Woohoo. And we'll continue the music now that we are talking about Maku Woohoo. Maku Woohoo is just Woohoo Loop, but a little bit more complex. You drive around, in my opinion, a little bit of a more fun and interesting part of the Wii Sports Resort map, including the volcano. You drive in part of the volcano, which is so cool, and around the castle, which I love. Yes. And it's just the better course. I think Maku Woohoo is the better course. So for that reason, oh my god. Let's not talk about that. For that reason, Maku Woohoo is S tier. Woohoo Loop is A tier. Just because Woohoo Loop's a little bit more boring and a little less fun. But both great courses. Both great courses. Moving on. We have the next course. We're going to go back to chronological order now. So we're jumping back a little bit. And that's Music Park. Music Park, obviously, a great track. It was so good. It was remade for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and I think it was a great choice for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I'm glad they brought it back for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It's one of the few smart things Nintendo's ever done. The music, as well, is good. I like it. Here's my only complaint with the music. This is an entire track themed to instruments and just music as a whole. Meanwhile, the OST is super electronic and doesn't feature as dumb as I feel saying this. It just feels like it has to be said. The OST doesn't feature all those instruments that you see when driving around the course. So like there's drums, there's violins, pianos. I couldn't think of the word piano for a second. Jeez, I feel like an idiot. Guitars, things like that. And then this soundtrack, I guess you can make the argument for like electric guitars, electric pianos, and maybe like you got the drums in there. But for an entire, I'm gonna skip ahead. Yeah. For an entire track based on music, the electronic vibe of the track just seems way too niche for me. I would have loved like some real piano in there. I would have loved some real guitar in there. And I know this was on the 3DS when they were a little bit more limited musically than they are now. Like now on the Wii, they have some sick like saxophone riffs and guitar solos in their soundtracks. But even so, like I feel like they just kind of put themselves in a bit of a hole here, in a weird niche that wasn't necessary with this track. It's still amazing. I don't know why I'm complaining about it so much when it's an A tier. I put it in an A tier. The way I'm talking about it makes it sound like it's a C, D, or E tier track. This track's still amazing. You're driving on pianos and drums, and when you drive on the drums, you'll sometimes get bounced into the air, and there's like violins playing in the background, and piranha plants that will attack you on cue with the beat of the music. So like overall an amazing track. I just have that one complaint because that one complaint it's just always bothered me. And I think the reason it bothers me is because if the music was a little bit better, this would have been one of my favorite tracks of all time. This would have been like a top 5 track for me. And I would have been able to live a complete, happy, perfect life. But instead, it's just A tier, which is a bit of a bummer because it should have been S tier. It could have been S tier, and it isn't. Um, but again, I'm talking so negatively about a track that I love. I love Music Park. I think Music Park's awesome. Let's end on a happy note. Just so we can immediately become negative again. Just so I can immediately talk shit again because the next track is Rock Rock Mountain. And I think Rock Rock Mountain is fucking boring. I really do. I don't know why they I just choked on my own breath. Sorry, I'm so mad I can't speak. I'm so mad I choked myself. Um, I don't know why they chose to bring this Mario Kart 7 track back for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, specifically for the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe booster packs, when there are so many better tracks up here in the A and S tier. And I consider this to be like an F tier track. We'll listen to the music real quick. But I don't even think the music's that cool. Forgot. It has this like rock theme to it, which makes sense because it's called Rock Rock Mountain. But like one, you only drive up Rock Rock Mountain for a very short portion of the track, and two to like base the entire theme of your track around this mountain that has rocks falling down the side of it, and then that's only like 20% of the course, and then 80% of the rest of the course is just this boring meandering path around the side of the mountain, not part of like the actual mountain. I don't like it. I really don't like I I just sound like a Rock Rock Mountain hater, and maybe some of it's unjustified, but a lot of it is justified. I really don't like the music either. I could give a fuck less about this song. And like I said, I think the path around the mountain where you're like driving through the forest and stuff is so odd and boring. And yeah, you can do some cool shortcuts through there, but I don't even care. Like usually shortcuts help boost my ranking of the course, but I just hate Rock Rock Mountain so much I don't care. And I think the cave you drive through is pointless and boring. And I even think driving up the mountain, when you're actually driving on Rock Rock Mountain, is stupid. Like the whole point, I don't give a, I don't care about the music. Shut up. The whole point of this course, it's literally called Rock Rock Mountain, is to spend your time driving through this wandering path to eventually find your way to the mountain and drive up the mountain, even though the mountain's only actually like 20-30% of the course. And even then, the time you spend driving up the mountain is just garbage. It's hot dog trash. Like driving up that mountain is not even fun. Like I don't want to keep reusing the word boring, but it's boring. So Rock Rock Mountain's another F tier for me. I kind of already talked about this in my last Mario Kart stream because I was complaining about the fact that in these Mario Kart 8 Deluxe booster packs that they've been releasing recently, where they're adding 48 new tracks to the game. They're adding 48 new tracks to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. They've wasted 2 out of 48 tracks on Toad Circuit and Rock Rock Mountain. These two right here, 2 tracks I consider to be F tiers. And you might be thinking, well, that's not a big deal. You know, they still have 46 tracks left. But I would make the opposite point because there are so many courses in Mario Kart across all the games they've released that to waste any of the 48 DLC tracks is a real mistake, like a real big, just like shame, and it bums me out as a true Mario Kart fan, as like an avid Mario Kart player and fan, someone who's played every single game, and who's been playing it since I was like a toddler in diapers. Like Mario Kart was my first ever game, and in my opinion, these DLC booster packs are being not ruined but worsened by terrible track selections, by the inclusion of just hot garbage like Toad Circuit and Rock Mountain. Anyways, let's talk about another good track, and that's Piranha Plant Slide, which I actually really like because it has two different OSTs. It has two different background songs that play. This one that plays when you're outside, and then this one that plays when you're underwater, which we'll listen to this one, the underwater one, because you spend most of your time underwater. Um, I really like Piranha Plant Slide. My only complaint that keeps it out of S tier is that Piranha Plant Slide doesn't really know what it wants to be. That's just the truth. You spend like a third of the course outside in what looks like a Mario's like castle themes area. It kind of looks like the setting of a Mario level, like in a default, like I can't think of the name, mainline Mario game. So like a third of the track looks like you're in the setting of a mainline Mario game with like the blocks around you, a castle in the background. And a third of the track looks like a sewer, as you see in the picture. A third of the track. Oh, okay. Sorry, kind of pressed the wrong button there. A third of the track looks like a sewer, as you see in the picture. And then the last third of the track, last 33%, looks like a water slide. So, it's just so weird. Like, this course has no clue what it wants to be. I don't know. I like it. I don't want to put like everything in A tier, but I have a feeling I'm gonna put a lot of things in A tier. Actually, I know there's one way we can fix that. Let's put this in A tier, and I'll just put Daisy Hills back in B tier like I originally had it. I shouldn't go back on my word. And also, I said at the beginning of this, I wasn't going to care too much about, you know, having too many tracks in each tier. But at the same time, I can't have everything in A tier because eventually we're gonna run out of space in A tier. That's the only reason I'm moving it. I know I'm kind of going back on my word at the beginning of the stream, where I literally said at the beginning of the stream I wouldn't care about putting every track into S tier or every track into A tier, and now I'm literally doing the opposite of that. But the reason I'm doing the opposite of that is because we're gonna run out of space in A tier. So we'll move. Wait, did I? Oh my god, I'm so god dang dumb. I moved Daisy Hills down, or I moved Piranha Plant Slide down to B tier when I meant to move Daisy Hills down to B tier. Dude, I'm so pissed right now. In the last 2 minutes, I've made so many technical mistakes, just like little hotkey mistakes. I'm ashamed of myself. I should know how to use Photoshop better, but instead I'm acting like a boomer who's never touched Photoshop before. That's okay. The next track is an automatic S tier for me. And before I spoil what this S tier track is, I'll play the music just to get it hyped up. It's Wario Shipyard, baby. Oh, I love Wario Shipyard. I think and obviously this is a biased opinion, but in my opinion, Wario Shipyard is one of the greatest settings for any Mario Kart course. Having a Mario Kart course set in a sunken shipyard is so cool. And I don't think there's enough Wario themed courses. And the fact that this one is not only a Wario themed course, but it's one that does it really well is amazing. Like driving through abandoned, half destroyed wooden like battleships is so cool. It's so cool, and there's even more than that going on, where you have like these little dry bones skeleton fish swimming around the ocean that you have to avoid. I love it. I love it, and there's a lot of other little obstacles and shortcuts you can use. And I think this might be the most biased S tier I've done tonight. Because the other two S tier courses, I mean, a lot of other people in the Mario Kart community obviously love. But this one is more just for me. Because I just love everything about Wario Shipyard. It's a course that makes me a very happy guy. Anyways. Oh, this is another tough one. Neo Bowser City. Neo Bowser City. Oh, man. It's an A tier or an S tier. I just don't know which. The music is amazing. I just don't know where to put it. I think this one maybe goes A tier, just because the more I think about it, there aren't many shortcuts. In this track. And I don't know though, but I love the theming of Neo Bowser City. I really do. I really love the theming of Neo Bowser City. I think it's just such a cool theme for a Mario Kart track. But theming enough isn't enough to put it in S tier. And I think the music is A tier. Like the music isn't phenomenal, like above the cream of the crop. Like it doesn't go above and beyond, is what I'm trying to say, I guess. It's good. It's just not amazing. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it hurts me to put it in A tier, but A tier is still good, so I shouldn't like be upset with myself. The only reason this is an A tier is because the music isn't the best in the game. It's not the best soundtrack in the Mario Kart franchise, and the track layout itself is a little eh. It's just a little linear. There's not a lot of shortcuts, not a lot of things you can do in this track that are fun. I just love the theming of the track. I think one of the like, coolest settings they've ever chosen for a Mario Kart course. Especially because like Neo Bowser City just like it came out of nowhere and I love it. Like I don't know. It's an unexpected track, but it's a good choice. They did good. The next one, there's no doubt about where this is going. This is an S tier. And it's not just because I have a love for Donkey Kong games. I have a love for this track, the layout, the shortcuts, the theming, um, but the music as well is just perfect. And yeah, you could call this music a little lazy because it's just a Donkey Kong Country theme, but with a Mario Kart, you know, aesthetic to it. But it's the blend of those two things perfectly. With the beat that kind of slowly builds up like a Donkey Kong song, the classic opening verse, love it. It's just amazing. And this track really is just so cool with all the little things that it does and all of the things that it fits into one singular Mario Kart track. Like, you're driving through almost like 3 different Donkey Kong levels in one lap of a Mario Kart track. And I think that's amazing. And the music's perfect. The next one I'm torn on. The next one I'm a little indecisive about where I want to place this because Rosalina's Ice World. The theming of this track, S tier. Love it. We need more Rosalina themed Mario Kart tracks. The layout of this track, however, is A tier. It's not perfect. It's amazing, don't get me wrong, but it's not perfect. It's not worthy of S tier. So I think the deciding factor for this one is going to be the music, which I haven't heard in a long time. I actually don't have this memorized. Can't remember if the music's the best in the world, the worst in the world. The fact that I don't have it memorized makes me think this might actually go in A tier because I don't have it memorized. But we'll see. Oh no, boys, I fuck with this. This song somehow does amazing in its effort to hit both the vibe of space and snow. Like, I'm feeling both of those things right now. And it's crazy how just a single video game song, like a Mario Kart OST, can accomplish the aesthetic of like snow and space, which are two things that are kind of in different realms, in different universes. But to be able to hit both of those emotions in a video game song is so cool, and I love it. It literally feels like wintertime in space, and I don't even know what that actually is as a mortal human on Earth. But I feel like I'm experiencing winter on space, which is what this track is supposed to be. I love that. That's S tier. I can't believe I've forgotten what that song sounded like, but I'm also kind of appreciative and grateful that I forgot what that song sounded like because being able to hear it again, almost like it's the first time again, was amazing. That was beautiful. I love being able to listen to that almost anew. The next one, I might get a little flack for. The next 2 courses, I might get a little flack for. They're actually the last 2 courses in the game. First and foremost is Bowser Castle. I'm gonna take a sip before I say what I'm gonna say, just to give myself a little time, just to buy me a little time before my inevitable death. Okay, I think this is like the worst Bowser Castle in all of Mario Kart. Um, Now before you kill me, both emotionally, metaphorically, physically, let me explain. Obviously, there are some worse Bowser castles out there. Like in the original Mario Kart game, they made like 3 Bowser castles or whatever. In Mario Kart on the Game Boy, there were 4 Bowser castles, and obviously, you know, they all weren't gems. Um, so Bowser Castle in the 3DS is obviously probably better than like Bowser Castle 2 on the Game Boy because as I say that out loud, I can't really remember anything special about Bowser Castle 2 on the Game Boy. I can remember Bowser Castle 1 on the Game Boy being kind of fun and basic. Meanwhile, Bowser Castle 3 on the Game Boy was like a nice, complex, but not too complex level. I genuinely can't really remember what Bowser Castle 2 looked like, now that I'm thinking about it. So clearly, it wasn't that good of a course. So I'm not saying Bowser Castle on the 3DS, I'm not saying this track is the worst Bowser Castle of all time, but it's one of the worst. Especially of, the singular Bowser Castles. Like, um, if you only count the games that have one Bowser Castle, which is most Mario Kart games, this is the worst one. This is the worst staple, um, front and center Bowser Castle that has been presented to us in a mainstream Mario Kart game, which is disappointing. And I think the reason this one is so disappointing and so odd is for similar reasons to my complaints about Toad's Circuit at the top of tonight's stream. And that's because it just kind of takes a lot from the Mario Kart Wii Bowser Castle and copies it, but for the worse. It's like, hey, bro, let me copy your homework. And then your bro is like, yeah, just make sure you get a couple wrong. And obviously, you're not going to disrespect your bro, so you purposely get a couple things wrong. And this course gets a couple things wrong. So, like, I don't know. It just it feels like Mario Kart Wii Bowser Castle, but worse in a couple ways. And it really does just feel like a copycat. Obviously, it's not a bad course because it's a Bowser Castle and it's fun enough. I do like the one new thing they try, which is where you're like driving through this like volcanic lava field, which sounds like something you do in every Bowser Castle, but I promise the way they do it in this course is new enough for me to want to put it in C tier. But otherwise, a lot of this just feels worse. And it feels like a copycat. And then the other thing I said you guys are going to crucify me for is Mario Kart 3DS Rainbow Road. Because everyone and their mother, especially recently, have been calling this a masterpiece of a track. Um, I also just realized we didn't even listen to the Bowser Castle music, but that's fine. I will listen to the Rainbow Road music in a second, but let me make my point first. Everyone and their mother recently have been calling this a masterpiece of a track, especially because it was re-released on the Switch just a couple days ago when they put it in the third booster pack for the DLC. And now that it's on the Switch and it's in high def and it's been remastered, everyone loves it. They're like, yeah, it's such a cool Rainbow Road track. It's one of the best. And I think people are getting a little bit too hot and heavy when it comes to 3DS Rainbow Road. I think people are experiencing a little bit too much recency bias because it was just recently re-released. It just got added to the Switch in high definition like a couple days ago. But if you go back and play the original, it's not a masterpiece. It's not an S tier. Is what I'm trying to say. It's good. I still think it's one of my, you know, top tier tracks of all time. I'm not going to say it's my favorite Rainbow Road of all time, but I still think it's one of the better Mario Kart tracks of all time. I put it in like the top half, maybe even the top quarter of all Mario Kart tracks ever made. But it has its issues, and those issues still exist in the Switch version of the game, which is that like the beginning is kind of boring. And even that last like 10% of the track is kind of boring. You end the track with just like this weird S turn that to me feels just very odd and boring. I always thought it was a very boring way to end the track on 3DS, and it's still a very odd and boring way to end the track on Switch, especially if you compare it to like the endings of other Rainbow Roads, which are very fast paced and like intense, and it's like a down to the wire Rainbow Road finish. Think about the Switch version of Rainbow Road, or the GBA version of Rainbow Road, or the SNES version of Rainbow Road, or the DS version of Rainbow Road, where you were literally doing loops right to the finish. This version of Rainbow Road, it ends in a slow S turn to the finish. That's a choice that the developers made. I don't know if that's a good choice, but people can argue with me about that. And like I said, the beginning's also kind of boring. Um, but I do love a lot of things about this course. I absolutely love that you drive on the moon. That's so cool. And this is something I wish they would have brought back in any future Mario Kart tracks. But as right now, this is the only Mario Kart track where you drive on the literal moon. That's dope. And that's something you can only experience in 3DS Rainbow Road. You also drive on like the rings of a planet. I'm not going to say it's Saturn, but that's the closest thing you can compare it to is like driving on the rings of Saturn. You're driving on the rings of a planet. That's also really cool. Uh, so I like that a lot. Um, but like I said, there are just some weird like pacing issues with this track. And by pacing issues, I mean like sometimes it's really fast paced, awesome, fun gameplay, and then the next moment it's very boring and slow. And then the next moment you're getting some speed boosts off ramps. And then the next moment you're pulling to the finish line on this slow S curve. And I don't understand why. Like the pacing of this track's not good, and there are some dead spots, some boring moments. Um, so I think what we're gonna do is we're to decide whether or not we put this in A tier or B tier, uh, and to decide where this track is officially gonna land. I'm gonna listen to the music, the original music on 3DS, not the remastered music on Switch, because I will admit the remastered music on Switch is S tier. The remastered music is really good. But I'm gonna listen to the original music because that's how we're gonna decide the ranking for this original track. And we'll see whether it's S or we'll see whether it's A or B tier. I don't think this track deserves S tier. It's a slow build. I want to play it out. I want to listen to it all. Not all, but not all 4 minutes of the track, but I want to listen to most of it. I want to give this a fair review. Is it just me, or does this YouTube video I looked up sound terrible? The audio quality that I looked up on YouTube for this one at least sounds terrible. Let's try to find a different YouTube video. I don't know why. That one sounded terrible, bro. It sounded scratchy. That sounds way better immediately. That last video sounded so bad. I'm gonna skip ahead though, because we were like a minute into the last song, so we might as well skip a minute into this one. And by song, I mean the last YouTube video, the one that sounded like shit. I'll be honest with you boys, this isn't helping me. The song feels like it's perfectly in between B and A tier for me. I don't know. I really don't know where to put this track. I thought listening to the music would help me decide between A or B tier for this, but listening to the music has only like reaffirmed that it's in between the two tiers because this song sounds like an A.5, a B plus, an A minus, or a B.5, I guess would be the correct statement there. An A.5 would technically be between S and A tier, which this is not. This is between A and B tier. Maybe, you know what, let's do something unprecedented just so we can end the tier list. We've been doing the tier list for almost 50 minutes. Maybe we just leave this track in between A and B tier. This track just is in between the two because I don't know where to put it. It's not A tier, it's not B tier, it's just stuck in the middle. Sacrilege, I know. I don't know what to do. I just don't think this music is like great, but it's also not bad. Like it fits the theme of Rainbow Road. It fits the vibe. I don't know. We're gonna do something unprecedented, and I'm just gonna leave it there. We're just gonna leave it there, boys. I don't care. Anyways, that will be the end of the tier list, I guess, and we will move into the gameplay portion of tonight's stream, where we're actually gonna go play some Mario Kart because I genuinely top B tier. I don't know, man. I think I'm just gonna leave it there because even putting it at the top of B tier feels disrespectful for Rainbow Road. I'm happy leaving it in between the two tiers, and maybe we'll decide on a later date when I come back to this because I did say at the beginning of tonight's stream before you got here that I was gonna eventually combine all of my tier lists for every Mario Kart track ever. So when I eventually combine all of my tier lists, maybe I'll force myself to make a decision then. But for now, I'm happy with this, honestly. We will see. Anyways, yeah, let's play some games, bro. Where's my Mario Kart stream setting? Or my Mario Kart stream scene? I can't find it. Mario Kart, Mario Kart. Is this it? It kind of looks like it. Okay. Anyways, that'll be all for the tier list portion of the stream.